These are slides taken in Italy in 2018. I spent 5 weeks there with a couple of friends. We rented a car and went around, the whole country. Um, there are a lot of plants that I just recognize the family part, but I don't necessarily know the name, and I certainly don't always have, or even often have the Latin name for it. So if Bob could maybe fill in some of the blanks for me there, that would be greatly appreciated. So this is one of the first sites we visited with old Roman ruins. And this was sort of on a mountaintop, and you can see there's quite a large agave there with the blossom that's already, had its time.
Right? I think that's the one called century plant.
Yes,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and they're all over the place. They're quite common. So that's Sicily. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, we started out in Palermo in the top upper left. You can see there. And then they picked me up. I flew to Catania, took the train the next morning, and they picked me up in Palermo. And then we drove through Trapani, Marsala, Castelvetrano. We spent a night or two there. And then we visited in that area. We visited Salunti and Selinunti and Segesta. And then we traveled all the way down to where the heart is, to Agrigento. And there were spectacular rooms in terrific condition, because Sicily actually was never bombed during the war. So a lot of the other rooms in Rome and Greece, they've really been attacked, whereas Sicily hasn't been. So the preservation there, I think it's got something like 7 or 8 World Heritage sites. So we spent 2 weeks in Agrigento and went into the interior where you see Enna and Sicilia in the interior. There we saw some incredible mosaics, entire villas that were so well preserved. That was quite extraordinary to see. Then we went all the way down. We did the whole coastline and going into the interior occasionally and spending a night or two at a farm. So there's farms that allow you to stay there. And then we spent a week in Syracuse, and then we took our time after Syracuse and we went to Taormina, which is up there on the top right, and went around the black area, which is Mount Etna. And then we spent another week or so in Catania and flew out from Catania. So that was the whole trip there. So these were all over, everywhere, growing wild. And this is at the beginning of the month, February. We were there until the first week in March. And we got to see them open a great deal more later on. Just beautiful, beautiful wildflowers. And just some of the hillsides with sheep all over the place. Many of them have bells. So it's really a gorgeous sound that you hear. So this Segesta, one of the first ruins that we saw, very impressive, as I say, still in really terrific conditions.
It is.
So this would be lavender that's in bloom, or, and here I'm not so clear anymore, whether that's lavender or could that be rosemary? No, I believe that's lavender. And what we would do, we would be staying, of course, in as I said, in the Agrigento for in an apartment for 2 weeks. So very often when we go in the countryside, we would just be picking up herbs here and there to be using in our cooking. And I think, over before the fan palm, you see that little green there. That's more than likely fennel.
Right.
Fennel is a very popular plant.
I actually think that might be rosemary.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's the way if the flowers are right along the stem as opposed to above the stem, I think that might be the rosemary.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, these are 5-foot bushes.
Oh yeah, I know, it's amazing, eh? Compared to what we got in the gardens.
Don't grow that big over here.
No.
So a lot of cacti. So Sicily is a lot of limestone, very unlike Nova Scotia, and basalt. so volcanic material, and you can see it very dry. A lot of a lot of market gardens, a lot of plastic, as a matter of fact. So they're kind of flimsy structures, simply covered with plastic, and that plastic is all blowing into the ocean. It degrades, of course. So that's what we saw before from down below. So now we're up on top of the hill and looking at more rooms. There would be like an auditorium kind of place. Seats right into the hillside.
Sorry.
And these thistles were all over the place, just stunning, beautiful, beautiful thistles. This one's not in bloom yet, but later on you'll see a few of the flowers. And cacti. So my friends decided that they would eat some of those pink ones on the left, and I said, sure, you go ahead. Well, of course they got little thorns into their hands. It took like a week or two. They're edible, and apparently they're very healthy or whatever, except yeah, the thorns were a problem.
Yeah.
And on the right is another sedum that's in bloom, and that I don't know the name of. So, and that was just in a plant, a big ceramic kind of plant.
Mhm.
And so this is now Selinunti, and you could see these God,
In a cerium, or like it's like a jack in the pulpit almost. Family,
exactly. They just grow in the ditches. They just grow wild all over the place
Yeah.
in the ditches like that. They're really quite lovely. And so yeah, the rune, and of course feral dogs are just around. They're very accepted, the dogs that roam all over the place in Sicily. And so the limestone is quite porous and has eroded over the years, and it's just absolutely perfect for rock garden plants. So you can see the little sedum like handsome chicks on the left, and then that other green thing on top of it, I'm not so sure, but that's also another sedum, and also on the right, similarly, just a broader leaf. And none of these were in bloom, not in February, but probably in the summer it would be really quite lovely to see. And so more with a little variety here on the left, there is that bloom. And again, I don't know the names. I haven't identified these plants. I was using my cell phone, and it was an older model, 2018. It wasn't taking the best photos possible, but just lovely seeing these in the wild like that.
I'm guessing the one on the left is a groundsel of some kind. The one on the right is fascinating. It looks the flower is that a seed stalk? I guess it's not flowering.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
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 Huh.
So I bought an app. I think it's called Plant Snap. So I'd be able to identify more of these plants. And I took a photo of this, and the app told me that was a pine. So this is a fan palm. It's not a pine, as we quite well know. So we had a lot of laughs about the plant snap, because it was wrong almost all the time. So there on the left, the white flowering plant, I believe, is Kalanchoe. I don't know if you can agree with that, or
I would have said off the bat, and this was it called Acerina, I think, or I know that's not the one, the snapdragon family anyway. Looks like
yes, exactly. Well, the plant snap kept saying that was Kalanchoe, and there is a plant called Kalanchoe that sort of looks like that. But
okay,
yes,
then that's probably what it is then.
yeah, snapdragon family. And then on the right, that it looks like yarrow. I don't know. I mean, if it is or isn't.
Looks a bit like Virginia too, except I don't see the wide leaves like you'd get on it. But
yeah, the leaves look fairly fine.
I mean, it has the 4-part flower like you get with the crucifers, like the
mustard.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's an interesting one. Yeah.
Huh. Anyway, there's
another.
are just these beautiful little groupings,
Yeah,
totally natural, totally wild, all of their own. And I don't know what these are.
I think that's an agacanthus. You know,
The
uh
white one?
yeah, the no the yeah, the big one there on the right anyway.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay. Okay, great. And then you can see that flower that we saw on the right in the last one.
Yeah,
You can see it at the bottom there, so it's slightly better
almost looks
image.
like a verbena there. Yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So you can see that thistle now is in bloom,
Yeah.
and these are. I guess we're moving on. We're getting close to Agrigento, and then some kind of vetch on the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
I guess anything that was blooming, I'd stop and take a photo. There weren't that many things that were blooming.
Oh, no, that is.
Okay, so I love artichokes, and so to see mounds of these, we see them so rarely here in the grocery stores. It's a fleeting kind of produce, and you have to get them at the right time, or they're all dried up. I mean, these are huge and delicious,
Mm.
and really not expensive. So you can see how they grow.
Oh,
Next slide.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how they grow. I had no idea actually how artichokes grew, and we actually saw a crew harvesting them. There's entire fields of these artichokes, and the leaves apparently are edible, though we never get the leaves here, so I've certainly never tried them. We had them quite often when we were there. So artichokes and fennel and eggplant are the three big crops in Sicily.
I know with the artichoke, like what we eat is the bud but if you leave it, it will bloom like a thistle and has quite a colorful flower actually. But it's the choke that's inside the artichoke will grow into the flower.
Oh, okay, okay. We didn't, yeah, this was harvesting time when we
Yeah.
were there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this, I had the name on top, but it's not showing up on your screen.
Hmm.
It's like Aeonium arboretum or something. It's a sedum, clearly,
Yeah.
and then you can see it's just in a pot, but I mean it's huge. You know, my sedums don't grow to be that big
Yeah.
here in Nova Scotia. And so now we're in Agrigento, and we missed it. It's in March. They have a huge almond festival.
Hmm.
And so there are almond fields. You can see one of the ruins in the background. And all surrounding the ruins are these almonds. And so those are almond trees.
Hmm.
And I think the yellow, can you just go back one?
Yeah.
I think those are Bermuda buttercups.
Yes. They are all over Portugal too.
Yes,
And
that's where I first saw them.
they're apparently an invasive species that originated in South Africa, despite the name.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But they're beautiful flowers.
they are. Okay, it's just an overview. This is, from the ruins, looking out on the plains. Just gorgeous countryside. A lot of cacti, of course. It's very dry. And this would be my mystery plant, which I think is an acacia, but
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Well, it definitely is an acacia. Yeah,
Oh,
acacia.
okay.
Yeah. So that's I used to see these, and I was in Africa once and saw these, and they were the ones that the giraffes wouldn't eat, for
Ah,
obvious reasons.
why? Because okay, so acacias they're related to mimosa or are the same or whatever, but I
And
don't think
mimosa is a type of acacia. Yeah.
exactly. They don't have those thorns.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. There's a huge family. There's like hundreds of them. And
yeah. Anyway, that was just kind of scary, man. You don't
yeah.
want to get near those. And so that's the museum in Agrigento, which has incredible collection, and you can see it's on the site of former, um, I guess, auditorium or seating area there. Um, and those pines, the umbrella pines, which I just really love. You see them all over, also in Sicily.
One thing I discovered is that that's the pine that pine nuts come from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, because there's lots. There's lots
Yeah.
there. So a view from the museum,
Mhm.
just of the countryside again. And a very old olive tree.
Mhm.
We can see those buttercups a little more clearly here.
Yeah. I think
And
that,
this would still be the rosemary.
yeah, I think that's rosemary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we would collect some of it, to cook with. And
It's nice, isn't it?
yes, actually fresh. And so in Agrigento, there's a botanical garden. So we spent a day there. It took us 2 days to see the ruins, and it took us a day in the museum, and then we spent another day. It's a small botanical garden, but it really gives you a sense of what grows best there. So a lot of cacti, agave, that kind of desert loving plant with, you can see the very porous kind of limestone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so that's a fig tree, we were told,
Yeah.
that will be in leaf and bloom later on.
Yeah.
The landscape really reminded me of the American Southwest.
Yeah, really.
Those sort of mesas and the color of the stone.
Yeah.
And so these are, I believe, aloes.
Yeah.
Huge, and that's the volcanic material there that they're growing in.
Hmm.
That would be, coming from Mount Etna.
Right.
And so that's the mimosa in bloom, and that's capers on the right-hand side. The pink flower actually is its seed part or whatever is what becomes capers.
Right. Oh, I recognize that one.
Which one?
The
On the left?
yeah, this Medicago marina. It's a type of medic.
Oh, okay.
And I know because I was literally about 20 minutes ago identifying it. My slides.
Oh,
And
from Portugal.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so actually it's a medic of all, like it doesn't look like other medics, but that's what it comes out as. And
Yes, yeah. The flower though.
Medicago marina it's called. So it's a marine, it's in the sand and that, yeah.
Okay, so it's a medic. Yes. Could you just send me that information afterwards? That would be great. And then some kind of Sicily plant on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
Oh, my.
I would guess that's a centaurea, without these, there's no spines, right? So it's kind of like we
Yes.
get in, I think, it's kind of like the ones we get in Canada almost, but it's a little.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, my phone just rang. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so that was growing on these sand dunes there on the left. We went to the beach one day, and those plants were just growing helter-skelter all over the beach, and that's a euphorbia on the right-hand side.
The long leaves there on the left, I believe are it's a type of daffodil.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, it took me a little while because we didn't see the flowers. So so borage was also growing everywhere, and you'd have seen borage also in Portugal.
I did, yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's borage on the left. You can see the blue flower there. And then on the right, I'm not sure. I think what attracted me partly were the size of those snails.
I think the plant is sea rocket.
I wondered
Same
about
one we
that.
got. Yeah, I saw that in Portugal, so I think it's kind of ubiquitous everywhere.
Yes, and it would be on the beach like that. Like we have that here too, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Now this was at a gas station, and I don't know, it's like a mallow or something. I don't know, but it's purple on the one side and green on the other.
That is an
So
odd. I thought that first they were snails, but I guess it's a seed pod, is it?
yeah, yeah, I'm assuming that's a seed pod.
Huh. beats
And
me.
that almost looks like a leaf of the Jack in the Pulpit on the bottom, bottom left.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
But you have no idea what this plant is?
None.
It's like a vine.
I'm
Yeah.
really curious now.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So we're driving now to Syracuse, and along the roadsides, these are humongous. I've grown fennel in my garden, but yeah, not 5 feet tall.
And
And
when I
so,
when I was looking at the
pardon?
fennel in Portugal, they had like the regular fennel, and then they had another one called giant fennel. And I'm willing to bet this is the giant one.
Oh, well, it's just wild. It's growing in the ditch, and nobody's harvesting this that I can see. We would just grab some leaves and something, and if we were having fish or whatever. So yeah, I mean, they were everywhere, everywhere,
Wow,
and that's it in bloom.
that's impressive.
So you can imagine how it would recede quite profusely. So no wonder it's everywhere. And so more euphorbia on the left, and then I just love these rock walls, with a lichen, and and then just these plants, which I can't identify.
That's borage,
But
the blue. Yeah,
I don't think that's borage. Do
yeah,
you think that's
yeah.
borage?
It looks very much like what I got in my garden this summer. Actually, the way the flower kind of droops over like that.
Yeah, okay, but the one on top makes me wonder.
I mean, the
It,
leaf is got kind of crinkles to it that I don't recognize, but the flower is very similar to what I get in my
yeah,
flower garden. Yeah.
and there aren't that many blue flowers. It just reseeds itself in my garden. I've had it for, like 20 years. But yeah, I mean, it does grow everywhere, in
Mhm.
the ditches and whatnot. It's happy with a certain amount of moisture. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a lovely picture.
Definitely in that family anyway. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, with that
Wow.
leaf.
That's neat.
Okay, so now we're by the beach, south of Syracuse, and crocus. Crocus just growing out of this kind of waste lot, gravelly kind of soil.
Hmm.
Very, very pretty. And then on the right, I don't know.
That's stock. It's maritime
Just a
stock.
small.
It's another one I think I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
Okay, it's just a small shrubby plant, but
Yeah.
then, it's by the water. It's probably getting salt spray or whatever. So, and yeah, this is in Syracuse. There again, Syracuse has incredible ruins. It takes more than a day to go through them, and again in wonderful condition. And this was just I just found the seed heads so pretty. So there again, I had the name. It's just something, well, lanceolata,
Okay. It
but
looks like a type of plantain.
yeah, that's it. It's plantain lanceolata.
Plantago
That's what it's
lanceolata.
called.
Okay, yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
called Heels cough.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really a prettier than our plantains anyway, with the kind of blooming that it's got going on there.
Yeah.
And then this is in the botanical garden in Catania. So this is not exactly wild flora anymore, but it's just nice to see flowers. So that's
Yeah.
clivia. A lot of people have them, I think, as houseplants, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that purple plant is, though you must know.
Well,
No?
it's in the same family of comfrey and borage and forget-me-nots and all that. So I would guess it might be an achium, the Viper's bugloss, or the one we get on
Right.
there's several
Right.
plants in that family, and that could be one of them, but I wouldn't, rely on my knowledge on that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Again, like that sort of soft leaf,
Yeah.
the fuzz and everything on it. It's
Yeah.
quite a big plant, quite a big plant. And then again, this flowering
Vinalo,
sedum
I think. Yeah. I think that's
agave.
Vinalo with that seed head, with the flower head there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bigger than the other one that I'd seen. And I think that's it. I think that's the last slide.
Yeah. Honeysuckle.
Oh no, no, sorry. Yeah. So
Wow.
Um,
That's a big,
big honeysuckle.
yeah.
Quite, quite big honeysuckle. So the problem with driving in Sicily, if anyone wants to rent a car and do this, the streets generally are very, very narrow. So when you get to a city, you just dump the car. So in this situation, we were traveling from Syracuse, to Catania, and we just left the car at the bottom and we walked up here because we figured, you might get up here and there's no place to turn around for all you know. So yeah, just the jungle quality of this honeysuckle was lovely to see.
Yeah.
So yes, this is north of Catania, which is a good sized city. This is Taormina, and just to let you know about the driving, that these roads are really something else. So Taormina is kind of a rich person's enclave. Movie stars and whatever are up there. You can see it's all fancy kind of stuff, but it's right by Mount Etna. So that's Mount Etna. And actually, when we were there, there was a couple of families with kids were sledding on this snow.
Wow.
They don't have that much snow. And what I found, these birch trees were there, and it just made me so much think of Ontario.
Mm.
Like, yes, we've seen this. It's like the group of 7 could be making their paintings on Mount Etna.
Wow.
And I think this is the last slide. Yeah, so that's a close-up of the capers. So you can see, once the flower is gone, the little round things are what are actually preserved and put in jars for you. And then just an amaryllis family plant on the left. Again, this is in the botanical garden in Catania. And that's the last slide.